Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A label written or printed on paper, cardboard, or plastic that is attached to something to indicate its owner, nature, price, etc. The appropriate or desirable thing. This car could be just the ticket for a small family. A list of candidates nominated by a political party to run for election to public offices. Issue a ticket or a fine to as a penalty. Move your car or else you will be ticketed. A commercial document showing that the holder is entitled to something, as to ride on public transportation or to enter a public entertainment. A summons issued to an offender, especially to someone who violates a traffic regulation. Provide with a ticket for passage or admission. A label written or printed on paper, cardboard, or plastic that is attached to something to indicate its owner, nature, price, etc. Go after with the intent to catch. A small piece of cloth or paper. Attach a tag or label to. A game in which one child chases the others. The one who is caught becomes the next chaser. A label associated with something for the purpose of identification. Semantic tags were attached in order to identify different meanings of the word. Provide with a name or nickname. Sports. The act of touching a player in a game, which changes their status in the game. Supply, blank verse or prose, with rhymes. Touch a player while he is holding the ball. The appropriate or desirable thing. This car could be just the ticket for a small family. Thin layers of rock used for roofing. A list of candidates nominated by a political party to run for election to public offices. A fine-grained metamorphic rock that can be split into thin layers. Cover with slate. Slate the roof. Designate or schedule. He slated his talk for 9 a.m. Enter on a list or slate for an election. He was slated for borough president. Formerly, a writing tablet made of slate. Money extracted as a penalty. An expression of agreement normally occurring at the beginning of a sentence. Issue a ticket or a fine to as a penalty. I was fined for parking on the wrong side of the street. In a delicate manner. Finely shaped features. Being satisfactory or in satisfactory condition. Everything's fine. Characterized by elegance or refinement or accomplishment. Fine wine. Free from impurities, having a high or specified degree of purity. Gold 21 carats fine. Minutely precise, especially in differences in meaning. A fine distinction. Of textures that are smooth to the touch or substances consisting of relatively small particles. Wood with a fine grain. Thin in thickness or diameter. A fine film of oil. Trade name of a company that produces musical recordings. The artists and repertoire department of a recording label is responsible for finding new talent. Pronounce judgment on. They labeled him unfit to work here. Attach a tag or label to. Label these bottles. A brief description given for purposes of identification. The label modern is applied to many different kinds of architecture. An identifying or descriptive marker that is attached to an object. A radioactive isotope that is used in a compound in order to trace the mechanism of a chemical reaction. Assign a label to. Designate with a label. These students were labeled, learning disabled. Distinguish, an element or atom, by using a radioactive isotope or an isotope of unusual mass for tracing through chemical reactions. Distinguish, as a compound or molecule, by introducing a labeled atom. Appropriate conduct. Doing the right thing. The quality of being specially suitable. Give or make a list of. Name individually. Give the names of. A database containing an ordered array of items, names or topics. The property possessed by a line or surface that departs from the vertical. The ship developed a list to starboard. Cause to lean to the side. Erosion listed the old tree. Enumerate. Tilt to one side. The ship listed to starboard. Include in a list. Am I listed in your register? A database containing an ordered array of items, names or topics. The act of making a list of items. Physical objects consisting of a number of pages bound together. He used a large book as a doorstop. A record in which commercial accounts are recorded. They got a subpoena to examine our books. The sacred writings of Islam revealed by God to the Prophet Muhammad during his life at Mecca and Medina. A compilation of the known facts regarding something or someone. His name is in all the record books. A written version of a play or other dramatic composition, used in preparing for a performance. The sacred writings of the Christian religions. A collection of rules or prescribed standards on the basis of which decisions are made. They run things by the book around here. Arrange for and reserve something for someone else in advance. The agent booked tickets to the show for the whole family. A collection of playing cards satisfying the rules of a card game. A major division of a long-written composition. The Book of Isaiah. A number of sheets, ticket or stamps etc., bound together on one edge. He bought a book of stamps. A written work or composition that has been published, printed on pages bound together. I am reading a good book on economics. Engage for a performance. Her agent had booked her for several concerts in Tokyo. Record a charge in a police register. The policeman booked her when she tried to solicit a man. Register in a hotel booker. A document of or relating to commerce. A document of or relating to commerce. A natural prolongation or projection from a part of an organism, either animal or plant. A bony process. A writ issued by authority of law. Usually compels the defendant's attendance in a civil suit. Failure to appear results in a default judgment against the defendant. Shape, form, or improve a material. Process iron. Deliver a warrant or summons to someone. He was processed by the sheriff. A sustained phenomenon or one marked by gradual changes through a series of states. Events now in process. Institute legal proceedings against. File a suit against. He was warned that the district attorney would process him. March in a procession. They processed into the dining room. A particular course of action intended to achieve a result. It was a process of trial and error. Psychology. The performance of some composite cognitive activity. An operation that affects mental contents. The process of thinking. A mental process that you are not directly aware of. The process of denial. Subject to a process or treatment, with the aim of readying for some purpose, improving, or remedying a condition. Process cheese. Deal with in a routine way. Process alone. Perform mathematical and logical operations on data, according to programmed instructions in order to obtain the required information. The results of the elections were still being processed when he gave his acceptance speech. A request to be present. A writ issued by authority of law usually compels the defendant's attendance in a civil suit. Failure to appear results in a default judgment against the defendant. Call in an official matter, such as to attend court. An order to appear in person at a given place and time. Give something useful or necessary to. Provide or equip with furniture. We furnished the house in the Biedermeier style. Give something useful or necessary to. We provided the room with an electrical heater. Supply means of subsistence. Earn a living. He provides for his large family by working 3 jobs. Mount or put up. Give what is desired or needed, especially support, food or sustenance. The hostess provided lunch for all the guests. Make a possibility or provide opportunity for, permit to be attainable or cause to remain. This procedure provides for lots of leeway. Determine what is to happen in certain contingencies, especially by including a proviso condition or stipulation. The will provides that each child should receive half of the money. Take measures in preparation for. Provide for the proper care of the passengers on the cruise ship. Give something useful or necessary to. Melt, fat or lard, in order to separate out impurities. Render fat in a casserole. Give an interpretation or rendition of. The pianist rendered the Beethoven sonata beautifully. Bestow. Render thanks. To surrender someone or something to another. Render up the prisoners. Give or supply. The estate render some revenue for the family. Pass down. Render a verdict. Show in, or as in, a picture. The face of the child is rendered with much tenderness in this painting. Restate. Words, from one language into another language. She rendered the French poem into English. Give back. Render money. Make over as a return. They had to render the estate. A substance similar to stucco but exclusively applied to masonry walls. Cause to become. The shot rendered her immobile. Coat with plastic or cement. Render the brick walls in the den. Circulate or distribute or equip with. Supply blankets for the beds. Give something useful or necessary to. State or say further. Give what is desired or needed, especially support, food or sustenance. The activity of supplying or providing something. An amount of something available for use. Offering goods and services for sale. A tag showing the price of the article it is attached to. Metal plate on a dog collar bearing its registration number. Military identification tag worn on a chain around the neck. A tag showing the name of the person who wears it. Punish by a fine imposed arbitrarily by the discretion of the court. Punish with an arbitrary penalty. A ticket to a place and back, usually over the same route. A ticket good for a ride on a railroad train. A ticket good for several trips or to attend a season of entertainments, sold at a reduced rate. Transfer from one place or period to another. Transfer somebody to a different position or location of work. The act of moving something from one location to another. Application of a skill learned in one situation to a different but similar situation. Move around. Transfer the packet from his trouser pockets to a pocket in his jacket. Transferring ownership. Change from one vehicle or transportation line to another. The act of transferring something from one form to another. The transfer of the music from record to tape suppressed much of the background noise. Someone who transfers or is transferred from one position to another. The best student was a transfer from LSU. Send from one person or place to another. Lift and reset in another soil or situation. Shift the position or location of, as for business, legal, educational, or military purposes. A ticket that allows a passenger to change conveyances. Cause to change ownership. I transferred my stock holdings to my children. Move from one place to another. Transfer the data. A ticket good for a ride on a bus. A ticket good for a ride on a railroad train. A ticket good for admission to a theater. A ticket good for admission to a theater. A ticket good for several trips or to attend a season of entertainments, sold at a reduced rate.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.